The Pineys Team of the Year, presented by Atlantic Tire and Service.
Here to help us break down this elite group of nominees is my longtime friend and colleague and business partner, David Glenn, a sports journalist, analyst, and co-founder of the North Carolina Sports Network.
It is great to be here with you, Mike. This category might be the deepest we have ever had. These teams did not just have good seasons, they in many cases made history.
Let's kick things off on the ice. The Carolina Hurricanes back in the Stanley Cup semifinals this year. David, this team just keeps on delivering for Canes Nation, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Canes are now firmly established as one of the NHL's most consistently successful franchises. Under the combination of the owner, Tom Dundon, and the head coach, Rod Brind'Amour, they have made the playoffs 7 years in a row now. And their run to the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals, that was the third time they've reached hockey's Final Four in these last 7 years. It shows how consistent and competitive they have been for a while now. The Triangle area of our state especially has hockey fever right now, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
Let's head on over to Wallace Wade Stadium now, DG, where Duke football turned some heads in 2024 with a 9-4 record. That was tied with the second most wins in Duke football history. David, what stood out to you about Manny Diaz and his first edition of Imps?
Well, Duke football in general has really turned a corner. First under our good friend David Cutcliffe, then Mike Elko for 2 seasons, and now Manny Diaz. The Devils have gone from being kind of a long-time afterthought in the ACC on the gridiron to a team that nobody wants to play. And the culture change, the physicality, the belief, it all came together in the 2024 season. This past fall marked only the 8th time ever that Duke has won 9 or more games on the gridiron, and that just underlines the special nature of Coach Diaz's first season in Durham.
We'll keep it right there in the Bull City, and from the gridiron we now go to the hardwood. And Duke men's basketball had another incredible run, 35 wins, an ACC title, and a trip to the Final Four. David, they just keep reloading under Coach Jon Scheyer.
That's right, Mike. The Devils under Coach Scheyer did not just have talent this past season. They had chemistry and leadership too. And remember, with guys like 17-year-old freshman Cooper Flagg, that was his age at the start of last season, with him stepping into the national spotlight, this Duke team played with poise beyond its years. And 35 wins, man, that is tied for the second highest total in the history of that proud program. Just a massive season for the Royal Blue.
David, you know I love the small schools, so we got to give some love to High Point. Their men's basketball program, a breakout season, 29 wins, a Big South tournament championship, and their first ever trip to the NCAA tournament as a Division I program. What did that mean for the Panthers?
Well, it meant everything for that school, that program, and that community. High Point was one of the best stories in all of college basketball this past season. The second-year head coach there, Alan Huss, galvanized the team, the campus, and the city. That 29-6 record was not a fluke. They played fast, competent, and confident, and they were truly brilliant offensively, especially. Their NCAA tournament bid, Mike, was also historic in the sense that it marked the first time the Panthers had qualified for the big dance in their 26 years as a Division I program. That is why they're one of our finalists for Team of the Year.
Another great team is on the track. Team Penske, the Charlotte-based NASCAR powerhouse, finished with Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney going 1-2 in the final standings. That is absolute dominance.
Yeah, Mike, as a NASCAR guy yourself, you know this better than I. It is rare to see that kind of 1-2 punch in that sport. Team Penske raised the bar again in 2024. Logano and Blaney were models of consistency and a credit to Roger Penske's leadership. North Carolina is NASCAR country after all, and that team delivered in a huge way last year.
Another team that delivered, UNC women's soccer. They brought home an NCAA championship in 2024 under first-year coach Damon Nahas. That is pressure, and the first-year mentor delivered for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, it's another huge story. When you take over for a legend, it is not easy. But Coach Nahas put his stamp on that program quickly. The team responded beautifully. National champions with that trademark Tar Heel excellence on display on the pitch. And doing all of that in year one under a new head coach, that is just incredible.
That was in the fall, but in the spring, the ACC brought home another championship. We can't forget Wake Forest and their men's tennis program, 40-1 overall, a perfect 33-0 regular season. And the Demon Deacons capped it off with a national championship. David, that is a juggernaut.
Yeah, the Demon Deacons were almost untouchable in men's tennis this year. Dominant in the ACC, as you mentioned, dominant nationally. Coach Tony Bresky has built a machine in Winston-Salem. This was his second NCAA title for a program that had never won even one of them before his arrival as head coach. That was not just a title run, it was one of the better seasons in the history of college men's tennis.
As impressive as all of those teams were, and they were certainly impressive in the 2024-25 season, there can only be one winner. This year's North Carolina Sports Awards Team of the Year, presented by Atlantic Tire and Service, is the UNC Tar Heels women's lacrosse team.
And what a choice, Mike. The 2025 UNC women's lacrosse team did not just win a national title. They went undefeated, 22-0, swept the Atlantic Coast Conference, and then steamrolled through the NCAA tournament. The Tar Heels' dominance was almost clinical in nature, but what impressed me most was their unity and their mental toughness, even as a relatively young group with a lot of freshmen. This was not just a great team. This was a historic one. And they not only won our statewide Team of the Year honor, Mike, they are a national finalist as we speak this month in ESPN's annual ESPY Awards as well.
North Carolina women's sports in the fall or in the spring, an absolutely championship experience. And the Tar Heel women's lacrosse team was led by one of the best coaches in all of college athletics, Jenny Levy, the only head coach the program has ever known, and now has 4 national championships and a mountain of respect.
Hey, Jenny Levy is a legend. Literally, at this point, a multi-time Hall of Famer. She has built UNC women's lacrosse from scratch, as you mentioned, and gradually turned it into an absolute dynasty. Now with the Heels having won 4 of the last 12 NCAA titles in that sport. And she's not just a phenomenal coach. She is a trailblazer, a motivator, and a mentor to, at this point, generations of young women. Okay, it is now time to welcome in a special guest who represents the winner of another of our 2024-25 North Carolina Sports Awards categories that received tremendous, wide-ranging input from sports fans all across North Carolina and beyond. Our top vote getters for the statewide Team of the Year honor did include the Carolina Hurricanes of the National Hockey League, Duke football and Duke men's basketball, the High Point men's basketball squad, Johnson C. Smith from the Division II college football ranks, Team Penske from the NASCAR circuit, and then some national championship teams from college sports, including Wake Forest men's tennis and the UNC women's soccer team. Each of those groups obviously represented just a tremendous amount of team success here in North Carolina over these last 12 months. Our 2024-25 Team of the Year winner, though, was both an NCAA champion and a record-setting, undefeated group that some consider among the best teams in the history of collegiate women's lacrosse. The North Carolina Tar Heels finished 22-0 under our guest coach Jenny Levy this season, claiming the program's 4th national championship in dominating fashion. Even against its NCAA tournament opponents, this Carolina squad won those 4 postseason contests by an average of almost 10 goals per game. Representing that incredible team with us today is, appropriately enough, the only women's lacrosse head coach in Carolina history and the architect of all four of the program's NCAA championship teams, head coach Jenny Levy. She is the second winningest coach in the history of collegiate women's lacrosse. She's a three-time national coach of the year, and she's formerly the gold medal winning coach for the U.S. women's national team. She's also already a member of or headed into multiple lacrosse halls of fame, thanks to her accomplishments as both a star player at UVA and for these past 30 years as the legendary head coach at UNC. Coach, welcome back to our program. It's a new platform, the North Carolina Sports Network, but congratulations on that long-term success and this latest NCAA title. How are you?
I'm great. Wow, that's quite a lineup of great teams, many of which we spent the year watching. So thanks for having me. This is awesome. I love the state of North Carolina and all the great sports that we produce in both professional and college. So it's quite an honor for my squad.
Well, thank you for saying that. For the record, Coach's team is also a finalist for Team of the Year nationally on the ESPY Awards, run by ESPN, of course. So we don't consider ourselves the largest planet in the universe, but we are thrilled to honor you as a statewide platform. Coach, I know you're a super mom in addition to being a super coach, and we would never ask you to select like your greatest child or your favorite child. But I am curious, among your 30 teams at Carolina, when you go undefeated, win the national title, and I read this, you led the nation in scoring offense and scoring defense, which cannot possibly happen all that often. Are you willing to say out loud, or is it like blasphemy to say that this group was your best team in those 30 years?
Wow, I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I will say it is our youngest group that has ever won a national championship. So although we had great seniors and really great leadership this year, our players, our freshman class, and then our sophomore class, and we had a lot of players out last year. So we went into a lot of games actually having no idea how we would respond to the moment, whether it was a big regular season game against a conference opponent or out of conference opponent. Getting into the ACC championship game, we kind of went in like, well, we'll see what happens. We win that. And then we rolled into NCAAs and we're like, well, we're either going to go undefeated and win the national championship or we'll end the season with one loss. And each game gets more intense as you make your way through the tournament. And we took we were down 4-2 against Florida in the semis. And next thing you know, my team like pumped in 18 goals. I'm like, okay, that's how we're going to play. And then we go, roll into the championship game and, the staff was pretty relaxed. The team was relaxed. They had a good time. But it is the youngest team that I've had win at this level. And it was I wouldn't say it's stress-free. It's a lot of hard work, but it was a really enjoyable year.
So give us an idea. We have in history and a variety of sports, Dean Smith, if he thought he had a particularly special team at Carolina in men's basketball, he would even in the preseason, put a photo of the New Orleans Superdome in the players' locker room, which is basically saying, hey, guys, it's hard to win a national title, but I believe on day one that this group at least has that potential. Give us an idea over this. I kind of think of it as like a 5 or 6 month journey. We see you raise the trophy in the month of May. Take us back to January, like the early week of practice preseason. Do you already know I probably have one of the better teams in the country? Or is it more of like an evolution where there's stops along the way where you say, wow, like this group may be capable of raising that trophy?
I knew that we were really good. I just didn't know how fast we would mature. And so like each game was brand new for these guys. There's a lot of new players out there. There's as I said, a lot of players come back from injury who had only played like a freshman year or hadn't even played a freshman year. So it was like every game was a new game. We had a cash register in our locker room. And so instead of focusing on where we were headed, we were just focusing on cashing all the different chips of each of the games that we wanted some paybacks actually. And so we actually were focused really in the moment, and we had a lot of fun with it. And as we evolved throughout the season, I thought, all right, this team can definitely be a Final Four caliber team. If we win it, it just means that we exhausted our potential for this year, which I thought we did. So it was like really fun.
I saw your post-game press conference when you won the national title, and you included phrases like nothing phases this group, and you used toughness and you used poise and other really complimentary terms. Most of the time that I watched y'all, I could see through an amateur eyes that you were better than your opponent. But when you played a Boston College or when you played a Northwestern, I was just like, whoa, this is elite level women's lacrosse. What were the totality of those elements that in that smaller number of games where you knew that opponent is capable of beating even my great team? What all else went into just making sure you survived even those handful of nail biter type games?
I think the overall mentality of the team was to go for it. Just whatever it is, go for it. Don't pull back. Go for the jugular. Like high pressure. You're going to make some mistakes, but the pressure is going to make them make mistakes. Don't worry about it. We got behind all of those opponents. We played from behind against them. Boston College twice and Northwestern once, and then the second time we didn't play from behind. But we didn't we weren't fearful of anything. We just went out and competed. We were dogs like all over the field. And we were just like, if you want to go against us, you're going to have to bleed to win. And so it's just going to be painful if you want to beat us. And we're willing to absorb that pain that it takes. And it doesn't matter how long the game is, regulation time, overtime. We just had this will to win. And it was really fun. It's fun to play that way, without fear. And afraid to, oh gosh, what if we don't win? We never really went into a game worried about losing. We just were like, okay, let's go play. Let's go. So we had our Friday practice before games, we actually did less because they had such a high engine that we just wanted to save some juice for Saturday or whatever we played the game. So it was fun.
Quick reminder, folks, that the entirety of David's interview with UNC head coach Jenny Levy will be posted here soon on this YouTube channel, along with all of our North Carolina Sports Network social and digital media outlets. Coming up next, the Pineys roll on with our North Carolina Athlete of the Year, presented by NC by Train. That comes your way next, right here on the North Carolina Sports Network.